To help save wildlife affected by oil spills, rescue workers have opened up a lot of Dawn. They rely on it because it's tough on grease, yet gentle. But even they'll tell you, Dawn helps open something even bigger. This year, Dawn is also donating $1 million to rescue efforts. Go to facebook.com, Dawn Saves Wildlife. Find out how the little things you do can make a big difference.
In today's age, Dawn may be most recognized as the hero of aftermath cleanup following the 2010 Deepwater Horizon spill in the Gulf of Mexico. While Dawn celebrates more than 40 years of saving wildlife, this analysis aims to answer questions regarding the effectiveness and evolution of their approach. We will examine several artifacts from the Dawn Saves Wildlife campaign following the BP oil spill and evaluate Dawn's reputation before and after. Alice Berkner, a nurse, founded the International Bird Rescue, or IBR, in 1971 following the collision of two Standard oil tankers off the San Francisco coast. 50 miles of coastline, 2,700 cubic tons of crude oil, and 7,000 birds were involved. Volunteers coordinated by Berkner were able to collect nearly 4,300 of the oiled birds. Unfortunately, due to a lack of oiled bird rehabilitation practices and working only in makeshift centers, only 300 birds were released back into the wild. 2 years later, in 1973, Dawn liquid dish soap came to market from Procter & Gamble.
In 1978, the IBR received a $25,000 grant to research one thing: what soap or solvent is best for cleaning oiled animals? Having only been on the market for 5 years at this point, Dawn was the winner. Not only did it cut grease more effectively than other soaps and solvents, but it was the softest on skin. In a 2009 interview with IBR's late executive director Jay Holcomb, he explained that it took 10 years of begging from IBR before Dawn eventually began to donate the liquid soap in 1988.
One of America's most magnificent waterways is blackened and befouled tonight by the biggest oil spill in American history.
240,000 barrels, 11 million gallons of Alaskan crude oil escaped from the huge vessel.
The oil industry's response plans had promised a swift clean.
A year later, in 1989, the Exxon Valdez, an oil tanker headed for California, struck the Prince William Sound Bly Reef, releasing more than 10.8 million gallons of oil and affecting 1,300 miles of coastline. This time around, volunteers were able to save more than 500 birds following the Exxon spill, according to records at IBR. By 2010, Dawn had 30 years under their belt for being known as the toughest on grease, gentlest on skin, both advertised and advocated for. An evolution of marketing had occurred in the lifetime of Dawn as a product, and Dawn Saves Wildlife adapted as needed. The BP oil spill was another occurrence to remind consumers of the power of Dawn. By 2018, Dawn was commemorating 40 years of saving wildlife, branding themselves as essentially nothing more than that.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. We all have sorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Lean on me.
Deterministic screening is a theory in the academic world of rhetoric first proposed by Kenneth Burke. Through selection, reflection, and deflection, Deterministic screens allow humans to focus on a reality more intriguing to them while ignoring the perhaps uglier aspects of a given reality. Let's look at an example from the Dawn ad we just saw. What kind of language did they use? A very intentional we phrasing is used here and in other advertisements to create a sense of camaraderie, community, oneness. Dawn isn't advertising for the IBR or TMMC, or really even giving accolades to the boots-on-the-ground volunteers. Rather, Dawn continues to paint themselves as the hero, as if they single-handedly have saved thousands of individual wildlife.
As a member of the audience, what does this very intentional phrasing do to our perception? Burke broke deterministic language down into two categories, scientific and dramatistic. As the names imply, scientific language is empiristic language or naming of data. Dramatistic language is intended as symbolic and used for motivational inducement, like how Dawn states that we save.
Who is the we, really? Is Dawn redirecting all their employees to wash birds after each oil spill? Does Dawn know that each member of the audience is involved? Humans have survived as long as they have, in main part due to community and communication. It is a natural human instinct to feel the need to be part of the collective we. Dawn would perhaps like us to think that they are the we when it comes to wildlife protection and rehabilitation. We know Dawn's charity to be one of tangibility, not time. Still, this approach evokes a need of being accepted, a mindset of, if I buy Dawn, I'll be part of the we.
On April 20th, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon drilling rig, located 47 miles off the coast of Louisiana, explodes, killing 11 members on board. This would become known as the worst ocean spill in United States history. By the time the Macondo wellhead was capped 87 days after the blowout of the Deepwater Horizon drilling rig, an estimated 3.19 million barrels of oil had spilled into the Gulf of Mexico. On April 22, 2010, the $560 million drilling rig sinks to the ocean floor. Shortly after, observers spot a 5-mile-long slick of oil on the surface of the ocean. On April 28th, the United States Coast Guard begins lighting controlled fires to try and contain the oil spread. The U.S. government revises the leak estimates to 210,000 gallons of oil each day. On May 25th, scientists confirmed that this is the worst spill in United States history, leaking between 504,000 and 798,000 gallons of oil each day. Over 1,000 miles of shoreline between Texas and Florida are impacted by the blowout of the Deepwater Horizon. The effects on the wildlife could be seen immediately to the naked eye. Birds covered black with oil. Fish belly up, dead in the oil slick. Turtles smothered in oil, washing up on shorelines, dead. About a month after the spill, BP announced that they would provide $500 million to help fund research programs that would study the impact of the spill on the environment and on public health.
Following the events of the BP oil spill, the Dawn Saves Wildlife campaign started a 9-episode documentary series in 2013. Each short episode follows different experts and animal health volunteers as they rescue everything from ducklings to harbor seals. The use of the professionals in each episode is actually a clever tool used by Dawn. Dawn uses the credibility of the animal experts to build their own credibility and to make people trust them as animal rights activists. It is also important to note the amount of product placement that is sprinkled in like small commercial breaks. The most noticeable instance of this is the second episode of the documentary. Some of the volunteers that rescued abandoned harbor seals describe how they make fish milkshakes. This process creates tons of dirty dishes, and of course they use Dawn dish soap because, well, it's their documentary. This advertisement takes up about 30 seconds of a 3-minute long video. With a well-built credibility, Dawn is able to promote themselves as a hero for all animals. They continue to build this reputation with pictures and videos of animals who are covered in oil being washed clean thanks to the Dawn team and their dish soap. This is a pull on virtue ethics. Virtue ethics focuses on the greater good, and helping those in need is a top priority in this ethical focus. Dawn shows animals in need and frames themselves as virtuous for helping the animals in need when others won't. They pair the use of virtue with words and phrases that support their claim of being heroes. Through the concept of deterministic screens, we know that every word selects, deflects, and reflects what the author chooses. Dawn throughout the series repeats the words, "we save," and every day we work to deflect the fact that Dawn themselves really don't do any of the work. They just partner with programs and foundations that already save animals. It also reflects how Dawn wants people to believe that they are single-handedly saving the world via their products.